Good morning, good morning. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you waiting so long this morning. I'm trying to make sure my Facebook is on so that we can play with this gingerbread dollhouse this morning. I'm really excited. We are almost finished. If you can see it right here behind me. Look at that roof. Look at that beautiful roof. I still have one dormer to finish right here, but look at all those beautiful shakes. I can't wait to add a little bit of snow and a little bit of icicles. I'm excited. So thank you for being here this morning. I'm Diane, and I am your hostess from Two Girls Treasure in Florence, South Carolina. Welcome to Coffee and Create. I'm gonna scoot this back just a little bit so you can still see it and admire the beauty. And I'm gonna check Facebook to make sure we are live. In fact, there we go, it says we're live. But you know how the internet lies sometimes. There we go, gotcha. Well, if you step in, say good morning so I know you're here. The storms have passed here in South Carolina. We're all safe and comfortable. It's a little bit cooler, but we're dressing for the weather now. Pray for our friends and families in Florida. Don't forget them. They have a long road to recovery. Pray for them and keep them top of mind, if you will. Good morning, Lynette. I'm so glad to see you here. Now, Lynette, I know you collect every stamp Iron Orchid Design makes. And I know we've talked about these molds. So I know you're gonna get ready to do some molds after this because you're gonna be so excited to see what we do and how we do that you're not gonna be able to resist doing this kind of fun stuff. As you join, tell me, have you used any of your Iron Orchid Designs molds? And if you have, what do you prefer? Do you prefer your air dry clay, or do you prefer your amazing casting resin or your clear cast? Which one is your favorite? Have you used either of these products? Now, when we first started, of course, we were on a tight budget. We still are. But we experimented with different mediums in the molds so we could see what we liked best, what worked, what was most cost effective. And what we found was the hot glue method was not the most cost effective, and it's very inconsistent in quality. I like a quality finished product, so my preference is either the air dry clay or the amazing casting resin. And I know you've seen some of the finished molds. I know you have some, you still haven't used them. It's okay. I hope today is your inspiration to try your products and make sure you love them and know how to use them well. I love molds. They're so versatile. You can create something that's finished. If you've been in the store, you've seen my ice cream buckets. I'm a recycler of sorts, but this is a finished piece in the amazing clear cast with some metallic colors added to it. So we did the blue. I love using the clear cast. It takes a while for it to cure up. So I usually do these before bed so that way I'm not sticking my finger in them and testing them. You can do them a very rich cobalt blue too. Look how beautiful. Let me see if I can get this under the camera. I'll have to get it right up in your face. Look how beautiful that cobalt is. And all you have to do with this is actually the quick cast, and I used the Alumilite dies. So you can do the quick cast and dye them, and you don't have to paint them, they're ready to go. You can use the clear cast and you can color them with metallics and get a little bit of a translucent finish, and they're ready to go. You can use these for ornaments. You can use these to glue on anything. You can use them for jewelry. Lynette, you can use your Iron Orchid Designs molds for almost endless possibilities. Today, we're going to use them to doll up this gingerbread dollhouse. I'm excited to make this a complete project. So let's get started. Grab a cup of coffee, and if you have your molds and your clay, break them out and work along with me. You don't have to have the same ones, and you don't have to have anything specific to glue them onto. It's kind of like Play-Doh in the regard that you can make them and then ball them up and make them again. If you've got your air dry clay out, make sure you have a container that is airtight. I like to use my Ziploc because I get this out a lot. So make sure you have something to put them in that's airtight, because you don't want your clay to dry out. When your clay starts drying out, it'll be a mess, and you'll have to reconstitute it with water, and that's completely possible, but it frustrates me because I'm ready to move on. So this morning I have out the molds that I want to use the most. I have out the brand new Holly Lane. I know we all love and want the boughs of holly. I have that to the side. I have some precast trees from boughs of holly that we're going to use. But we're going to use Holly Lane because there are some amazing pieces in this mold. I love this really large swag right here. And I think we can use this underneath our windows, our faux windows. And then we have some trailing pieces and, of course, little clusters. I like the clusters. We can use those to accentuate corners. And we have pine cones, because you've got to have pine cones with your Christmas. I also have Blitz. Now this is the second generation of Iron Orchid Designs snowflakes. I have some precast snowflake molds we'll use, but I like how whimsical some of these patterns are in these Blitz molds. I love this huge one, but I think it's going to be too big for us to use, so we won't use this one. But we're going to need some snowflakes on our dollhouse. What I want to start with this morning, this is Trimmings 3. You can always tell if it's Trimmings 3 because your edges are created, designed to fit one piece into the next. And I wanted to use this one specifically because after I looked at all three of the trimmings moldings, this one reminded me the most. And let me hold it up in front of my face. It reminds me of a door that's framed literally with boughs of holly. So I want to use this one around the door frame. Now this one, let me hold it up under this camera. This is Acanthus Scrolls. And in my dollhouse gingerbread mind, these look like the north wind coming in. If we were going to design wind, this would be it. I would love this. And of course we have the rosettes. This is a remake of the first generation. And I love some of these smaller pieces because these remind me of the gumdrops that you would use if you were doing a regular gingerbread throwaway after Christmas. But we're not doing a throwaway today. We are creating an heirloom quality gingerbread house. So let's stack these over out of the way. We're gonna start with the front door. Let me move some of my pieces out of the way. And I'm going to need some glue. So let me grab my glue off the shelf behind me. I know everybody doesn't have a monstrosity of a crafting cabinet. I'm fortunate to have what I do have, and I appreciate it. But if you see an old armoire and you're kind of handy and crafty, grab it on the cheap, paint it pretty, put some baskets, reset the shelves, and make yourself a craft cabinet that you can open and close whenever you're ready. And that way, it's not taking up so much space in your home. Now, I have both the air dry clay and the amazing casting resin. So Lynette, what would you like to work with first? If you were gonna do your molds today with me, what would you use first? Would you use the clay or would you use the resin? And I'll tell you what my thought would be, but I wanted to hear from you. And if you're just coming in, thank you for being here. Good morning to you. It's a nice, cool fall day in South Carolina. My answer would be, if you've not used your molds you want to do, okay, let's start with the clay. So I got a pretty liberal piece, and I'm rolling it long in between my hands because I want it to lay in that mold. And I want to take my thumbs and I just want to squish it down into the mold. It needs to take the shape of that cavity. So as you squish it down, if it spills over the top and you have too much clay, it's okay, don't worry about it. If you don't have enough, it's okay, don't worry about it. Take your thumb and press through. I don't want a deep impression with the clay. I don't want to use too much of my material. And this is going around the front door. This will be my front door frame. And I know this is going to be longer than what my front door is. I know I'm shaking the camera, aren't I? I'm so sorry. I have these little plastic paddles, if you will, and this is what I use to smooth my clay across the top of the micro rim. So smooth the clay, because what will happen when you smooth the back is that the excess clay will come off. Now I don't have a lot of excess clay on this one. It fit just about right. Smooth it just a little bit, but don't overwork your clay. The more you work with it, the harder it's going to be to get out, and you're more likely to have cracks where you don't want them. Let's go ahead and do the demold. Now you've put your air dry clay in the mold. You want to take it out. Just simply walk your fingers down the sides of the mold and pop the clay loose, just like that. Just pop that clay loose from the mold. Now turn it over. Don't bang on it. Don't pick it up and shake it. Just take one end of your mold, and where it's loose, let it roll out. Use your fingers to secure it so it doesn't tear. It is clay, so you want to make sure that you don't tear it when you take it out. And look, a beautiful casting. Lynette, you can do this. If you want to play with the molds and make your own gingerbread house, I have 2 classes, 2 workshops available online now. just go to the website and look at workshops. Lynette, I know you're not going online to do that. Come by the store. Make your reservation. This is a kid-friendly 9+, ages 9 and up. And we will create nothing this large, but we have a class where we will create a beautiful, usable gingerbread box. It will be heirloom quality, so it will last you a lifetime. And we'll do some special little things. There will be fairy lights involved. Now, all I did was lay the clay mold, the casting. Oops, popped myself offline, didn't I? Oh, come on now. Pardon my reach. There we go. There we go. I was trying to reach for my mouse and I bumped it. All right, let's bring you in a little bit here and let's get you where you can see the door. Can you see the door? All I did was lay the clay up. I had an extra long piece and I'm just following the angle of the cornice over the door, and I just miter cut. I just cut at an angle with my razor blade, because you know I have my razor blade, Lynette, you know that, right? I angle cut my molding, so now all I have to do is put some glue on it and put it on the door. So I know for a fact that I have gummed up the end of my glue. Who else does that? I mean, I can't be the only one, right? Do you gum up the end of your glue? I do it all the time. So I keep a little paintbrush handy. I keep it in water so it's nice and damp. And I squeeze the glue up in the container. And I get what I need on the end of the brush. I like this because I can just brush it straight onto the mold. All the way top to bottom, and then my entire casting is covered with the glue. And I want to make sure my edges are glued. I want to make sure my center is glued because I don't want this to come off. I want an heirloom quality piece when I'm done. So back in the water, and gently I'm going to start at the bottom, and I'm going to just gently lay this casting, this clay casting, onto the doorway of my gingerbread house. I don't want to push on it too hard because there's some beautiful detail work right here. And if I push too hard, I will smush those details, and once I paint it, you won't see that amazing detail. Now, the thing about clay, it's a natural substance. So if I leave this right now without painting it for a little while, the surface will get a crust over it. And once that crust dries over the top of the clay, it will crack a little bit. Well, that's not always a bad thing. If you're trying to attain a rustic look, a vintage, aged, antiqued look, that's how you'll get it. With your clay, and let it dry just a bit before you put anything over it to protect it. I have resin castings on the gingerbread house, but I think just a little bit of rustic added with the whimsical will make this look amazing. So while I cast another side for the other side of the doorway, I'm just gonna let this dry to the air, and that way I'll get just a little bit of cracking, and it'll look really amazing once we finish and we add a little bit more color. So let me scoot this back, and let's do that again. So we're using this mold. I have an extra piece left, so Let me go back to our molding so you can see. And let me just bring you in a little bit on this. That way you can see really well what I'm working with. Let me see if I could get you in. There we go. So you can see. Is that the way? This is the way. The camera's always backwards. We're going to use this cavity in the Trimmings 3 molds. We're going to use the Iron Orchid Designs air dry clay. Get some in your hand and roll it out. Remember when we played with Play-Doh and we used to roll out cigars? Because back in the day, that was the thing to do. But roll it out between your hands into a longer piece. Long, skinny, because you want that to go into your cavity. We'll do a workshop on next Saturday, and we will do a Tuesday evening workshop the week after the rescheduled flower show. And just lay that clay into your mold. Take your thumb and work the clay gently. You don't want to press too hard. You don't want to overwork the clay. Just get the clay in there, and then take some kind of tool, something that you have laying around, something that has a nice smooth edge on it. I'm going to clean some of this dried up off of here with my razor blade. But you want a nice clean edge, a nice smooth edged tool. One of these paddles works, a putty knife works, a credit card works, but just something that you can run on the back of this. The Iron Orchid Designs molds have what's called a micro rim. So at the edge of each of your molds, there's an edge, and that edge stops your liquid from pouring over. It gives you a nice smooth finish on the back. You want a nice smooth finish on the back because that's what makes it lay down on your surface nicely. I have just a little bit of leftover clay. I'm going to put that back in my package, and each time I use my clay, I'm closing the package and laying it over. The reason is the clay dries very quickly, and I don't want my pad of clay to dry out before I'm finished playing. Smooth it just a little bit, and then take your thumbs and just loosen your edges gently. It should come loose very naturally. If you have an edge that's a little bit stubborn, work with it. Turn it over and demold, just like that. And if you say, well, it's easy for you, you've done this a lot, I have done this a lot. I have messed it up an awful lot also. So it's a practice, it's a skill, and the more you do it, the better you'll get with it. Again, we have a workshop next Saturday where you can make your own gingerbread right here at Two Girls Treasure. And then the Tuesday evening after the rescheduled flower show, the rescheduled flower show is October 14th, 15th, and 16th. So Tuesday evening, October 18th, we will have an evening class. All right, can you see the dollhouse doorway? Let me move you. Let me figure out which way to move you. Wrong way, this way. Ta-da! It's backwards, y'all. You know that's challenging. Laura, good morning. I'm so glad to see you. And I am prayerful and hopeful that you are drying out and getting everything put back in order. I love you and I miss you. My sister, y'all. My sister in Daytona Beach, Florida. She got hurricane damage from Ian. So please keep her and everyone in Florida in your prayers. All right, so I cut that door edge just the opposite way. Let's lay it down, and I clicked that, but I didn't get the other camera in. There we go. Let's lay it down, and we'll get our little wet brush. Just tamp the water off a little bit. Damp helps, but you don't want it saturated. The water helps spread the glue. So get enough glue on your brush, and we will roll on down the entire length of the mold, just like that, edge to edge, top to bottom. Tunk that right back in the water, and here we go. I'm going to start at the bottom and just gently lay my mold on. I'm going to make sure my edges are in. I'm going to lay my top down, and then I'll go to the center. Gently, so you don't smush out any of the beautiful detail. And as you look at this closely, once it is on the dollhouse, this actually has holly berries on it. This is gonna look so amazing once this is painted. Well, now we have this top piece, right? And what the world are we gonna put right there? Because we can put the molding. I have an extra piece we can put here. We can stretch this and we can make that fit, and that way it looks good. Or we can bring it over the top. We can do a little bit more and bring it around. I think that's a great idea, but let me tell you what I think would be an amazing idea right here. Let's grab our brand new Holly Lane. So let's move trimmings 3 out of the way, and let's take a look at Holly Lane. Let me see if I can bring you in on a solo view so we can all look at Holly Lane together, because Holly Lane is a really amazing set of molds. And I love this gigantic swag, but we really don't have that kind of space on top. But look at this centerpiece right here and a little bit of these edges. And I believe we can take this and we can create a beautiful centerpiece over the top of this door. Let me show you how you can use just a part of your mold set without having to use the entire mold, the entire piece. Use them the way you see fit. I'm going to move the dollhouse so I don't knock it over, and I'm going to come on in tight. I'm going to squish my clay just a little bit so it's a little bit flatter, and I want a nice shallow cast here. So I'm going to lay it in, and I'm going to take my thumbs and I'm going to spread the clay where I need it to fill in the spots that I want to make my front door swag. Now, I'm not going to put a door on this, I don't think. So whatever I do to the front door, it's going to be a wide open front door. I had a little bit of overage right there. That's not a big deal. The micro rim gives you the ability to clean off anything you don't want. And I can take and fill in anywhere that I didn't get it filled in. It's just clay. Just squish it around until you get it the way you want it. You don't want to overwork it. You don't want to work it too long because it'll dry out. Smooth the back. I'm going to take my tool and I'm just going to make sure I don't have anything extra right there. Now, that is just about, I think, the right size to go over the top of the door. But just to be sure I have enough to blend with the trimmings molding that I already have, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bring this out just a little bit more. I'm gonna pinch just a little bit more clay, and I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Laura, we never had Play-Doh like this, did we? This is so much fun. By the way, everybody say a very warm, loving, happy birthday to my sister, please. Let her know how much we love her here in South Carolina and around the countryside. Laura, happy birthday. I will call you at midnight and sing to you. Not gonna sing to you now, my voice is crackly. All right, I think we have a nice swag here. We can trim back whatever we're not gonna use. So let's gently pop our edges loose. Don't force them, just work with them. And this time I'm going to roll from the side. So as I roll, I'm gonna gently help it let go because I don't want it to break. There we go. Look at that. It's so pretty. Got a little crack right there, but that's okay. Because it's clay, I can just squish it back together. I know I laid my razor blade down, and I know it's right here in front of me, and I know you're happy that I don't have my razor blade right there. It is. I can take my blade. If you have an X-Acto, you can take that and you can just kind of weed it back together. Let's see what this looks like on the dollhouse. Let's see how this fits. All right, over the top of the door, let's see what a beautiful swag we have. Look at that. Now, we can come up and let that hang over just a little bit, or we can bring it down. I kind of like it up because we get more of the mold. And because we're working with clay, you can move the clay in the direction you want. It'll bend, it'll stretch, it'll break. So if you move it to reshape it, just be gentle with it. See, I pulled that and I broke it right there. So I'm gonna squish that back together. I kind of like that. That almost looks like mistletoe hanging, doesn't it? I like that. So let's glue that on. Wet paintbrush. This is Aleene's Tacky Glue. I like this for some of my smaller projects because it's easy to work with. It's a small container, so I don't waste it. I always clog up my lid. I try hard not to, but I always clog up my lid. All right, let's see. I want to make sure you can see the glue going on. There we go. All right, a little bit more because this is a very large piece. And where we pieced it together, we want to be careful not to tear it. One of the other great things about keeping your bucket of water handy, besides the fact that it helps spread the glue, is that when you have pieced together your casting, you have little fractures on the back, and a damp brush helps meld them back together a little bit. And these are just little things that mean a lot once you've learned how to do your castings and you're getting ready to put your piece together. And it's just some little useless information that I've learned along the way that I've found to be helpful to me. I hope it will be helpful to you. All right, all the way to your edges, side to side, top to bottom. Let's put this piece on. All right. As gingerbread can be. Holly Lane, the brand new Christmas mold set from Iron Orchid Designs. And while I know a lot of people want the old set, you didn't have this in the old set. It's always wonderful to embrace the new. Create your collections of tools that you want to work with all year round. Because in the hot summer months when you can't go outside because you can't breathe, it's so hot, you can sit inside and you can design some of your Christmas. Look how amazing that is. Let me move you in. Look how amazing that is. And it almost looks like a crown over the door. I love it. I love it. All right, that's our front door. That is looking pretty spectacular right there. Now, because I don't want it to dry out completely, I'm gonna grab my cloud, give it a little shake, and I'm gonna grab a small brush from my toolkit of brushes. Oh, poo. There we go. There we go. Just a gentle encouragement. Just a gentle encouragement. I'm going to use one of the rounded edge brushes because it will get more of the product where I want it. I'm just going to tamp some white over the top of this. Pardon me. I want this to dry, but I don't want a lot of cracks in it. I can age it with some Rethunk Junk glaze, and I probably will. We'll use a lot of product on this. This is like one of those projects that you can throw as much product at as you want. There are no rules when you make your gingerbread house, except that it should make you happy. And I'm going to be honest, doing this project has been a lot of fun. I have really, really enjoyed it. And I think this is going to a special young lady for Christmas. We'll see. We'll see how that all goes. All right. Just tamp some paint over the top of your mold. It helps seal it. It prevents the clay from shrinking. Keep in mind, this is a natural product. It's clay. It will shrink. And I'm going to move you over so you can see. I'm just gently daubing some Rethunk Junk cloud over the top of this. I like to start every project as a clean canvas. So that's why we painted it first. And even with the molds, I want them to be a very clean look all the way until we get ready to put the final colors on. That's when it will all culminate. It will make so much sense. And it'll look so dreamy and amazing. All right. Just a little bit more right here. There we go. And then we need to do our swag. Just spread it around. It's okay if you are painting your molds and you get a little bit of extra paint on the body. It's only white. And when we get ready to do the final with the colors on here, you'll never notice this white over the blue. And there we go. Now this one, I'm going to hold my hand. I'm going to squish it back up just a little bit. There we go. There we go. All right. That piece is going to look amazing. It takes a little bit longer to put the clay on because you do have to take a couple of extra steps in that you do need to glue it well and you do need to paint it to prevent it from shrinking or cracking. But actually, you take the same number of steps when you're working with resin. Because when you're doing your resin, you have to mix part A, part B, you have to pour it, you have to wait for it to cure, you still have to demold it, and you still have to glue it. So it's just a different medium that we're working with. So let's take our acanthus scrolls. I want to create a little bit of wind over the windows, right here and right here. A little bit of balance from side to side. But I thought we would do that with a little bit of north wind. What do you think? So we'll cast some scrolls. I want to put the lid back on. What's the rule? Wipe it first. Wipe the rim first so you don't have any chunks of paint that will prevent you from reopening your container. Doesn't matter what brand you're using, but especially if you're using Rethunk Junk, it will weld itself shut. So make sure you clean that off, and then your lid will go on smoother and it will come off easier, a lot easier. All right, I say that as I'm trying to put it on and I can't. I got it. I got it. All right, let's take, we'll cap our glue for right this minute, and I'll lay it down so it'll be easier to get to. We'll move our Holly Lane out of the way. Holly Lane. This is a really, really great mold set. All right, let's see. I tell you what, and we have some baubles here. This is acanthus scrolls. Let me hone in on just this mold so you can see some of the amazing features. So not only do we have what I, in this instance, would consider to be our wind elements, but look at the gummy drops. And right here, look at that piece of icicle. Now that one's a toughie. So we're gonna want to use our resin to create icicles to hang on our gingerbread dollhouse. Because it's a winter wonderland, we want to make sure that we make it look that way. All right, in your kit of amazing casting resin, you'll get 3 measuring cups. We won't use but one of them today. It has all your measurements on the side. It's very handy, and we'll need those measurements. On the older generations of Iron Orchid Designs molds, you don't have your volumetric measurements like you do on your newer ones. So you have to kind of study what works. Also included in your kit, you get 2 popsicle sticks you'll need to stir, and you'll get the part A and you'll get the part B. Now, words of caution in case you've never seen me do this: wear gloves. Get your little rubber gloves out. This is the time to wear them. The resin is not horrible if you get it on your skin, but it's not great either. And if you've got the right size gloves, it's easy to work with. It's not hard. So get your gloves on, get your resin kit out, and get your molds. And let's make some gumdrops. Now, Lynette, this is the part where I told you you can do this too. This is just a little bit different. Don't let different frighten you. These are sealed. So I usually just take my popsicle stick because I'm going to use it anyway. Just peel that seal right off. Now, we'll be very conservative on our first pour. I want to get this icicle and I want these baubles right here, okay? We'll call those gumdrops. So I'm going to mix 5 milliliters of part A and 5 milliliters of part B. Make sure if you're holding your cup, you can hold it level and steady. If you can't hold it level and steady, set it down on a level surface and then measure. The trick to a successful pour using your casting resin is that you need to make sure you use exacting measurements. If you do, your pour will be exactly like you want it and need it. If you don't, it will create a sticky mess that you'll have to be patient and wait for it to dry so you can get it out of the mold. Take your time, measure carefully, measure correctly. Once you have it in your container, take your stick and stir. You see it turning cloudy? It should, but watch the magic. Wait for it. Just keep stirring. And suddenly, the clouding will start to change and your resin will turn to clear. Once it turns to clear, stop stirring and start pouring. Don't overmix. When you overmix, you waste it because it will cure up too quickly for you to pour it. Ask me how I know. We had a class recently, a workshop on molds, and we played with the resin. And when I told the young lady what I wanted her to do on purpose, she didn't want to do it because she didn't want to waste it. And guess what? She did it anyway. All on her own. We all do. We all pour it, overmix it. Now, we're clear. Stop stirring. And gently squeeze the edge and pour into the mold. Just follow your design down. And let me get my gumdrops. It's okay if it spills over. I'm going to get that flour because I love that flour. I'm not going to pour it real thick. And I'm going to get some of my North Wind right here. There we go. I have a little bit left, so I'll get these. I call them a grape bunch. I like them. I like grapes. There we go. Now, I didn't get all the way down, so I'm going to take my stick and I'm going to guide the resin all the way down into that bottom section. If your resin starts to cure, get your stick out of the resin. Let it cure up. It'll only take a couple of minutes. Typically, when it's hot in South Carolina, this will cure up in about 6 to 8 minutes. Right now, the temperatures are a little cool. I expect this will take a normal 10 to 15. We don't have all that much time left, so let's leave this right here where you can see it. and we will step over. I'll put both cameras on so you can keep your eyes on the curing and the already. Now, you know what? I moved the camera and it already started to cure up. That's wonderful. You see it turning white? Hang on. I'll go back. I want to make sure that you can see this because it's so mesmerizing to watch your casting resin cure up quickly and right in front of your eyes. So as you see it turning white, it's curing. And once that white turns solid, then your resin will be cured and it will be ready for you to use. I'm going to look in my bucket of goodies here. I have some of the boughs of holly large Christmas trees. These are precast resin. Some of them are a different color. I did not paint them. I just simply used my casting resin dye and I changed the color. So I did a dark green and I did a light green. They're neat, aren't they? I love the way these turn out. But I want to take two pieces and I want to lay them back to back, and I want to create a 3D Christmas tree to go in the gingerbread dollhouse. Now, these are not first quality castings. This one is missing a bough right here. I don't ship these out because the boughs of holly mold set is no longer available and everybody wants Christmas trees. Who would not want to decorate with Christmas trees this time of the year? So I cast them, but I do not send out the second quality or irregulars. I only ship first quality. So if you are looking for the boughs of holly Christmas trees, you can get them. I will cast them for you, and I will only send you the first quality molds. The castings. I interchange the words, but these are actually castings. This is a mold. So I will use my irregulars to create the Christmas tree for our gingerbread house. And see, once you lay them together, you can see the irregularities. You can see where there was a little bit less here. So I don't want to use that. And it looks like I will put together my greens, or I will just simply have to cast some more trees so I can make a 3D Christmas tree to go in resin. Your microphone doesn't speak Southern. That's so funny. My microphone doesn't speak Southern a lot either, Lynette. Resin, R-E-S-I-N. But I will cast some different Christmas trees. I don't want to use my dye that's two different colors. So I will cast some more Christmas trees today, and we will use those to create a beautiful Christmas tree to go inside the dollhouse. And we'll wrap it with fairy lights and decorate it and paint it so it'll be absolutely beautiful. Now, remember where I poured over? It's okay. You see how it's still a little bit translucent? Let it be because it's sticky. Once it cures to enough of a solid form, you can remove it and you can just toss that in the trash. If you get drips inside your mold, you can leave them if you're gonna pour, or you can just peel them out and toss them in the trash. Don't try to reuse the little chips because then you'll see them in your castings and you won't have real good quality castings. And I'm a big fan of quality. while we're waiting for this, let me show you this, your cup. You see the little bit that's left in the bottom? Oh, you're so welcome, Lynette. I'd love to have you come join us for the workshop. This is still a little bit sticky, but once it starts to cure a little bit more, just take your stick and peel it out and throw it in the trash. That way, each time you pour, your cup is cleaned out. You can see your measurements on the side, and your measurements are accurate because you don't have something in the bottom that's throwing off your measurements. So this is a very methodical process, which is probably why I love it so much. This is still sticky, but it came out just like cotton candy. But just get it out of the cup so that your cup is clean to start your next pour. There you go. A little bit on the side right there, and the cup's clean. Okay? And then take your napkin and peel that off your stick so your stick is clean. And then just throw all that in the trash. And it's good to go. All right, before we leave, let's make sure our castings are not quite ready. Boy, the temperatures this morning, they are wonderful. Not quite ready to come out. I can cheat a little bit. I have my heat gun hooked up. And as long as I do not concentrate the heat too much, I can help speed the process of cure time, because your ambient temperature means everything to your cure time. The warmer it is, the faster your resin will cure. Don't get your heat source too close to your mold, and whatever you do, never use a butane torch on your silicone molds. Your butane torch with your epoxies, if you're doing a deep pour, absolutely, you will need that butane torch, and it is designed to take that kind of heat. But these silicone molds are not designed for that kind of heat. So don't use a butane torch to heat your molds. And it's really not necessary to use your heat gun on your quick cast. I just wanted to help speed the process. These are almost cured. They're still a little sticky. I'm so impatient, and we're running out of coffee and create time. There we go. There's our grapes. Here's our north wind. Here's our gumdrop. Here's our flower. Another gumdrop. And another piece of the north wind. Absolutely beautiful. They're a little stretchy because they're cured, but they're not finished. So lay them down flat. I really, really want to demold this icicle. I'm obsessed with this icicle, and it is just not quite cured enough. So I will have to get back to that later on. We will put some more of these beautiful gingerbread molds on. I'm going to back you up so you're not all up in my face and you can see the dollhouse. It's going to be so cute. Look at that door frame. So beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I'm Diane, at Two Girls Treasure in Florence, South Carolina. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. We're online at twogirlstreasure.com anytime. If you have questions about using the Iron Orchid Designs molds, air dry clay, or either of the casting resins that we carry, please feel free to reach out. You can call us, you can message us, or you can come by the store. Workshops on next Saturday and the Tuesday after the flower show. So make sure you join us for a workshop and create your own heirloom gingerbread house. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I appreciate you so very much. Have a great day.